When we look at these job creation numbers that we saw today for the month of May, it was short of what a number of economists had expected it to be. And, you know, you were one of those economists at one time making these predictions based on analysis and data about how many jobs would be created. So a good number. It was strong job creation, but short of what was expected. How do you explain that?
I think we're in the midst of an historic labor market recovery. I think you really have to recognize that forecasting any numbers right now, especially in the job market and especially these volatile monthly numbers, is pretty much impossible. So therefore, you really have to look at the underlying trend. Over the past 4 months, since President Biden took office, this labor market has added 2 million jobs to payrolls. That's an underlying pace of 540,000 jobs per month. There is no administration that had an opening 4 months like that in terms of job gains. We saw the unemployment rate tick down 0.3% to the lowest rate we've seen since before the pandemic. Over 400,000 people moved out of long-term unemployment, a decline there, which is very welcome. And I think very importantly, you don't always see these two together. We're seeing this strong labor demand met by people coming into the job market and getting some wage bumps. And that's also really important to the resident in that big White House behind me. Joe Biden has long believed that if a labor market isn't generating paycheck gains for working class people, there's a problem. And so we view this as a very important indicator that we are solidly on a good track here.
So wage bumps are what most people care about, right? I mean, obviously, getting a job is the most important. But if you're employed and the unemployment rate goes down, it generally puts pressure on wages to go up. We've seen among a subset of workers called the average hourly earnings of private sector production and non-supervisory employees. That was up 14 cents to $25.60 an hour in America. I guess my question is, when folks are saying that there are people who are not taking jobs because of the $300 a month federal benefit, a supplement to unemployment insurance, you add $300 to $300, you get $600 a week. That's $15 an hour. And yet we're seeing average wages at $25 an hour. Tell me how you square those two.
We've just got a bunch of people getting jobs. That's how you square that. And they're getting jobs in some cases, in some sectors, with some impressive wage movements. You know, I think one area to look at is restaurants, food places, bars. Over the last 4 months, that sector has been one of the leaders in terms of job gains and wage gains. Jobs are up over 800,000 in the restaurant sector. Now, there's still room to go, but that is a sector where low-wage workers often find jobs. And again, clearly, there are some very impressive matches between people coming into the job market, finding gains in that sector. So, yes.
So let's dig into that, because in this last report for May, that was up 229,000, right? Leisure and hospitality. We're still down 2.5 million compared to February of 2020, which was the last real normal month we had. But those folks are generally speaking not earning $25 an hour. So there's an argument, and it's anecdotal, and it talks. The studies indicate that in that industry, people are having trouble finding employees for restaurants, bars, yes, hotels, things like that.
So I've heard this as well, and we take these anecdotes seriously. I do think you have to distinguish between anecdote and data, and we have to be data-driven here. What we don't see in the data is clear evidence that places where the unemployment insurance replacement rate is especially high, so low-wage states, low-wage sectors, sectors like some of the services that we've been discussing, we don't see those places particularly stressed in terms of labor market outcomes relative to other places or sectors. So we don't see the UI problem jumping out at us from the data. However, we've certainly heard this story, and it's one that has some salience. Look, any time an economy is going from shutdown to recovery, especially an historically robust recovery like this one, there are going to be transitory periods of misalignment between demand and supply. And we can see some of those misalignments in some product markets, lumber, autos, semiconductors. And we can see some of those misalignments in the job market. However, as the barriers between people and their jobs start to come down, more vaccinations for working age people, schools safely reopening, childcare options becoming online, we're going to see those barriers come down, and I believe we'll see that misalignment diminish.
So yeah, you're right. The vaccinations, the not feeling unsafe about work, the fact that the president did say today he's fine with the expiration of these UI supplementary benefits around Labor Day. You're still left with something you just mentioned, childcare. We've never been uniquely good at that as far as you compare it to the Western world. You and I have talked about this many times. How is childcare going to be different for those people who are still taking those UI benefits? They're worried about going back to work because they don't know what that's going to look like with their kids. What's different when we, come Labor Day?
It's a really important question, and I have two answers for you, both the rescue plan and the jobs plan. One is near term, one is longer term. Let's actually start with the longer term, with the jobs plan. With the jobs plan, we finally do. Your question was teed up exactly right. Relative to other advanced economies, we simply do not have an accessible and affordable child care sector. It is a huge missing market in the American economy. And spend 5 minutes with anybody trying to deal with caretaking responsibilities, and you will conclude that. That's why the jobs plan devotes deep revenues, deep resources to standing up that very sector. But we also have to deal with the near-term constraint. And there, the rescue plan has measures to help child care centers come back online, pay their rent, pay their utilities, bring in workers, and pay them a decent wage. Those are all parts of the rescue plan. So we have a near-term and a longer-term strategy to make sure that caretakers, disproportionately women, can find a clear path into the job market if that's where they want to go.